Triggers and cravings. So for someone who's made the decision to stop using a substance or at least cut it down, triggers and cravings can definitely get in the way of the goal they want to achieve. So withdrawal can be difficult, and then it's mainly exacerbated by triggers if you don't acknowledge them and put strategies in place to counter them. So triggers and cravings can often be the reason why someone slips up and starts using again. There are high risk situations that might make us feel like using again. And sometimes this can be a situation that made someone use in the first place, or it's around people they're used with, and places and times associated with using. So the first thing to do is sort of like looking at your own personal risky situations, like situations that you're most likely to use or use more than intended. So you could think about that and sort of make a list of them. Writing them down is really helpful. And there are several things that can help you avoid those situations. So obviously not going to those places or, being with the people, really staying away from people and the places that might make you tempted. This is a really difficult one because oftentimes it's not that easy to sort of create a new social network, really. You might have really, have childhood friends that are quite important despite the use of substances. So it's like, how do you do that? It's not an easy task, that's for sure. What you can then do, though, is develop a plan that you can use in case you find yourself in a situation that you feel like, oh my God, I don't really know how to handle this. So you can actually develop a plan before you get into a situation, because then you have like a strategy to say, okay, if I find myself at a party and someone's offering me something, this is exactly what I'm going to do. So you can plan this in advance and really write down the points that even down to what you're going to say. And then also there are relaxation techniques and ways of coping with cravings to deal when the urge is there. And sometimes that's helpful to role play that, maybe with a friend or a partner. So you find yourself in a situation, how do you interact with friends at a party, for example? It's, or how do you relax yourself and say, okay, I'm not going to get involved and I'm going to not engage. Talking about, cravings. Cravings are a normal part of changing substance abuse or use. They're actually a sign that your body is normalizing itself. So when the body is used to receiving a particular substance, our brain becomes conditioned to function under the influence of the drug, and therefore is not really used to functioning properly without it. So if you're prepared for the cravings, you have quite a better chance to succeed in dealing with them. So there are ways of looking at this, because sometimes we get triggered or a craving can get triggered by just walking past a house that you used to visit and for parties and stuff. So, or it's a similar thing about a client might start craving cigarettes every time they have a few drinks, because we're used to drinking and having a smoke at the same time. But one thing is really important: cravings come and go. They do not last 24 hours a day, every day. It's kind of like they rise and then they peak and then they come back down. So it's important for you to understand that the craving will pass if it's waited out. It's almost like cravings are like stray cats. If you keep feeding them, they keep coming back. So the best way to kind of like get rid of the cravings is to ride them out and not feed them with more substances or alcohol. However, with that said, ignoring the cravings doesn't quite work. So there are specific actions that are required to effectively manage the cravings and prevent them from causing a relapse. Well, first of all, is like you can tell yourself and positively tell yourself that these cravings won't last forever. So you could say to yourself, this too shall pass. You got to acknowledge the cravings and that they're uncomfortable and unpleasant, but they will definitely go on continuously. So you can also sort of ride the wave with an image in your mind, sort of thing. Like, you know, it's like you're imagining you surfing the wave of the cravings and the urge. So that's an image that you could do, sort of like, rather than concentrating on, oh, I really feel the urge and the craving. It's like I visualize myself on a surfboard on a big wave, for example. So there is also behavioral strategies that you can say, okay, I'm going to delay. I'll make a decision to delay using for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour. So you basically say to yourself, just for the next hour, for example, I choose not to use. I can decide later if I still want to. So yeah, remembering the craving is like a wave. It's useful to say that to yourself in the early stages of the cravings. And once you made the decision to delay, you can distract yourself from thinking about it. So you can also write down a list of things that you want to do when you feel the craving. It's like going for a walk, calling a support person, relax, listening to music. So once you distract yourself, you will find that the urge will subside. Okay, and then at the end of the hour, when the craving should have settled, and it might not be completely gone, but before you make your final decision to use, you may revisit the reasons why you wanted to quit in the first place. So it's also kind of like making a decision. Okay, you know what, I had decided that I quit because of these and these reasons, and maybe I should stick it out. Sometimes this sort of like turns into a stressful situation, so relaxation techniques and deep breathing exercises can always be helpful. So yeah, hopefully you found this helpful. Thank you for listening.